2010's YouTube.
Alright now, wasn't that fun? Let's try something else.
Arguably the greatest era to have ever been on the platform. Content was good, but not so overly sanitized and produced like most is today. The yellow dollar sign of death didn't become a problem until the later half of the decade. And most importantly, to me at least, genres that would go on to become oversaturated or die out were absolutely thriving, especially Let's Plays and animations. With the landscape favoring videos that just had to get longer and longer each passing year, this little pocket of time served as a lightning in a bottle we'll likely never be able to replicate. Like, what do you mean 10 years ago you could play a shitty Unity game about literally shitting on people for 10 minutes and get 23 million views? What the fuck?
I just killed people with a car with poop! Fuck off!
Let's Plays were at least able to evolve with that meta, as the type of content isn't that hard to push out on a regular basis, but animations suffered the worst. This being a problem that goes back years at this point, when YouTube was starting to prioritize videos that were 10 minutes long. Yeah, remember when that was the standard and not fucking 4-hour Nikocado Avocado retrospectives? It's rare to see any animated content thrive on this website anymore if it isn't the length of an actual pilot, or something a bit more low-key, like storytime animations or something. However, a subgenre of independent animation that was undeniably paramount at this time was creations made inside of Source Filmmaker. A tool that is still thriving today, and arguably thriving even more than it did back then somehow, created an entire generation of aspiring 3D animators, using the tools Valve had handed them to create some of the most iconic and most viewed animations on this platform to date. Some of them likely being able to get you on some lists. There were plenty of animations made on existing IPs made for Source Filmmaker, TF2, My Little Pony, Transformers, Godzilla, Sonic, etc. But the IP that had the most popular animations made for SFM consistently, if I didn't give it away already, was Five Nights at Freddy's. From 2015 to 2017, FNAF SFM was everywhere. Most commonly used for animated music videos for popular fan songs at the time. If you were a popular FNAF song, it was almost a given your official music video would be animated in SFM. Although this was definitely the most popular use of the tool regarding this franchise, it was also far from the only one. Although at a lower quantity, story SFMs were something else that had gotten a ton of attention back in the day. A lot of these were one-offs or very short series, consisting of maybe 2 to 10 episodes if you're lucky, or sometimes they're over 130 episodes. Out of all possible videos created in this niche, I don't believe anybody deserves the label of king more than Zajcu37. Creating a series that has been ongoing for the last 9 years about their own FNAF AU, starting off as just the animatronics goofing around in the pizzeria, to an almost 200 episode long epic of Toy Chica's quest to kill Nightmare or something, and it's still ongoing. Dedicated would be the understatement of the century when describing the series, and I've considered making my own dedicated video on this series and its history for more than a year now. But recently, this series has gotten on my radar again, for a reason you may not expect. On July 22nd of 2023, a YouTube channel would be created that would sit dormant for over a year, not uploading their first video until 2 months later. This channel would be
Zajcu37 Archive.
Zajcu37 Archive, or Archiv as it's formally spelled, is a channel consisting of 13 videos at the time of writing this, meant to archive older content from Zajcu's back catalog. Seems fairly innocent. To my knowledge, many of these videos were genuinely taken off Zajcu's channel for one reason or another at some point, and other archives of these videos seem to have already existed for quite some time now as well. But this is also where I started to notice some things were off. Most notably the time codes of other people's archives, and this channel's archives being inconsistent from one another, along with comments seemingly turned off on all 13 uploads to this channel. Everything about this so far just seems off. However, there is only one way to prove whether or not this superstition has any merit to it. The oldest video in the archive is simply titled, "It's My Birthday, Zajcu37 Re-Upload." This video is our starting point.
イントローダッキング、ダックツプラッシュユートゥーツ、ザニューエスト&モストウィムシカルプラッシュオブフレンドシップアウトゼア、ジャストルックアットハウヒーフロリックスアラウンドイン HIS フェイバリットエンバーメンツ。ダックツプラッシュ is made with 100% PT cotton or whatever you toots want me to say in the ad. I have no idea, all I know is in Ripoller. www.utoots.com にアクセスして、今すぐ購入してください。私たちはダックツのぬいぐるみが大好きです。ダックツのぬいぐるみは素晴らしいです。レポーター出てください。
The first video is a re-upload of Zajcu's birthday celebration. It starts with a still render with Zajcu stating that it's their 19th birthday, and they have made this animation to celebrate. After this, we fade out, anticipating the animation and, this image of Freddy, eyes burning right into our soul, remains on screen for around 14 seconds, his eyes subtly moving in the pitch black. Right away, telling us this channel is not what it seems. If it wasn't obvious already, this footage is not present in the original upload, as different archives from years ago clearly prove this. After this, we simply cut back to the original, unedited animation, although at a very low quality. Nothing seems to be out of the ordinary until we get to about a minute 50. Freddy comes back to stare at us, this time for a whopping 70 seconds. His eyes twitch, but nothing else happens. No music, no ambience, no jump scare, just this. Again. We cut back to the rest of the video, and it just plays out as normal. No more tricks up its sleeve. So, what was our takeaway from this? I don't know. This video doesn't tell us anything. There's no explanation as to why Freddy appears. The description just reads FNAF, which is obviously not helpful. And as stated previously, all comments are turned off. Whatever story there is here, if there's one at all, cannot possibly be deciphered from just this video. So, we'll move on. The second video listed on the channel is titled Zajcu37 Deleted Video Bomb Surprise Reupload, mouthful of a sentence. The video moves pretty fast, so I'll try to keep up. The video starts with Bonnie and Chica supposedly arguing while on stage, abruptly cutting to Freddy sitting down in the hall from them, before cutting back to the stage, then back to Freddy, then to Foxy, then back to Freddy again, then back to Foxy again. Christ, this is nauseating. Before something out of note finally happens, as Freddy is given a present by Foxy. Foxy laughs mischievously as we hear a loud noise break up Bonnie and Chica's argument, panning over to... I don't even know what the fuck I'm looking at. This is the final frame we are left on in the video, the cheery music not turning off or anything. We are just left to stare at Freddy's disfigured corpse caused by Foxy's borderline terrorist attack for the next 25 seconds, before abruptly cutting to Bonnie and Chica reacting to the occurrence before the video ends. Like, yeah, it took you long enough to acknowledge, you inconsiderate fucks. Again, this upload doesn't really tell us much other than these archived videos are going to continue this pattern of perversion in one way or another as they progress. However, this video at least has the advantage of the disturbing imagery actually playing some relevance to the plot itself this time around. But once again, this installment doesn't really give us any sort of discernible narrative just yet, leaving us to continue to the next upload. Zajcu37 Q&A 3 doesn't really seem to feature any disturbing content, with one clip playing over and over. Zajcu gets asked if he has a girlfriend, and every time he nods no. This repeats for a whopping 12 times before being asked one more time, where he answers yes, and that's the whole video. You know, how did he even secure a relationship in the time between the 12th and 13th question? Unless he pulled like some Hey Walter shit, I feel like that would be literally impossible, and judging that I had to look at fucking Live Leak Freddy just one video previously, I wouldn't even be surprised if that was the case.
That's a quick speculation off the top of my head. Maybe Walter knows the girl in the video who was kidnapped by Patrick, and that is why Walter's trying to find Patrick. This could be Patrick's way of taunting Walter.
As you can probably tell by my reaction here, there's, again, literally nothing to discern from this video. Nothing scary happens, it's just funny. Sure, it's still abnormal from the actual video that this is meant to be an archive for, but the anomaly this time around doesn't seem to be anything more than a shitpost. The consistency being completely thrown off, making me not know what to expect at all moving forward. Which, I guess, is our only option after this. Our next video is Zajcu37 New Night Guard 1 FNAF SFM re-upload, this one being fairly normal for quite a while. Outside of the 144p quality, like I'm pretty sure there are more pixels on the Tiger Electronics wrist game than there is on this damn Freddy plush. The video simply consists of multiple animatronics chilling around the pizzeria before Foxy walks away. Golden Freddy, inclined to follow, heads toward the security office where he sees Scout absolutely glued to the screen. So, without even noticing, Golden Freddy floats into position and jump scares Scout right before the clock strikes 6 AM. Scout, being confused, walks out of the pizzeria, what the fuck? Walks out of the pizzeria groaning. So it took me, like, going back to rewatch the video while editing, and I think the reason why he's groaning is because Golden Freddy broke his arm while he was jump scaring, but, like, I still feel like this is a very nonchalant reaction. Not long after this, Soldier walks into the building, likely taking on the next shift. While he's checking the cameras, he loads his shotgun as Funtime Foxy runs towards the hall to jump scare him. While she is doing this, however, something finally happens. Funtime Foxy freezes after her jump scare attempt as the camera cuts out to our final scene of the video. Instead of Soldier, we see the same bloodied Freddy suit taking his place inside the office. The frantic Chica music box playing as we hear the screams of the damned echo inside of the room. This shot lingers for about 23 seconds before cutting back to Funtime Foxy's expression of despondency and apathy, ending the video. Now, so far, you are probably really confused at what all of this is supposed to mean, and don't worry, I am right there with you. So, the only discernible theme that I can pick up so far is that Freddy seems to be the main source of these corruptions. Every scene that's meant to throw us off or unsettle us in one way or another all tie back to him. If there is even a semblance of a narrative in this story, 4 entries in, this is the only thing that I can pick up on so far. Will that change as we continue our expedition? I don't know, probably not. Zajcu37 Season 1 Thief FNAF re-upload opens with an epic guitar battle between Bonnie and Toy Bonnie. The scene cuts to the other side of the pizzeria where we see Chica walk to a party table, pizza box in hand. Once she places it down, she walks away as we see Toy Freddy's head appear from out of the corner. Toy Freddy, being the absolute fat ass that he is, ate the entire damn thing as Chica was freshening up in the ladies' room. Angrily glancing around the room, her gaze locks onto Toy Bonnie, who seems to be resting atop the show stage now. Walking up to him to get his attention about the missing pizza, Toy Bonnie denies that he is the culprit before Chica hits us with the "That is the most unfunny joke I have made in my entire career. I am genuinely genuinely sorry. Anyways, cutting back to Chica with a new pizza, she gets distracted by Freddy coming down the hallway, turning away as Toy Freddy seizes the perfect opportunity to straight up nab the pizza off the table and run back to his goon cave. I'm sorry, Toy Freddy, but everything Smike said about you all those years ago was completely true. Make your own damn pizza, you lazy fuck! Chica's searching for the culprit once more, heads down to the security office to yell at Scout before Dear Mother of God. This is the first anomaly we have run into so far that doesn't pertain to Freddy. Chica, with a heavily distorted face, leaves us with the message, if you're liking the video so far, then like it and put a comment on the video, and remember that God loves you, thank you. This actually kind of unnerves me. This doesn't need blood or screams to be unsettling. The lack of a mouth or pupils on Chica's distorted face fills me with that same primal dread I feel at like that infamous Teletubbies photo, for example. Something about missing facial features, man, it just gets me. Moving on from this interruption, we see Chica catch her culprit, get her revenge, and the video ends as normal. I don't really know what to say that hasn't already been said. The mention of God along with this unsettling imagery can definitely mean something if you try to decipher it, but with everything else we've been given so far, there's nothing concrete that we can really discuss at this point. However, we can throw my theory of Freddy being the core focus of corruption out the window now that we have seen it happen with Chica. Corruptions from this point on are likely going to be just as random, and we can really only hope that we'll be able to make even a slither of a meaning out of them by the end of this. The next upload is titled SFM FNAF Lost Cupcake Re-upload Zajcu37, and I won't even beat around the bush with this one. This is the only scene that is out of place. There is genuinely nothing else about this video that is different or scary. Wonderful. Our next video on the agenda is Bonnie x Toy Chica re-uploaded. The description reading, I do not like this ship. I mean, I can kinda understand that. I mean, these two are from like completely different decades. That's kinda problematic if you ask me. Anyways, this video is also quite a slow burn. The plot follows the gang planning their approach on the night guard, Freddy being frustrated at the lack of attention people are giving before finally explaining the scheme. After, Toy Chica leaves the room, with Bonnie asking to follow. Freddy begrudgingly lets Bonnie leave to go after her, heading into the back to get her a plushie, hopefully to cheer her up. Foxy then approaches Bonnie from behind and hypes our boy up to go shoot his shot. Must be a polyamorous relationship. Bonnie walks up to Toy Chica, where they both sit down with each other. Across from them, classic Chica joins the two and starts chowing down on some pizza. Being disgusted at the fact they're in the vicinity of this Toy Freddy-shaped individual, the pair attempt to leave somewhere else to get better privacy. They first try the backstage, but quickly find that this space is already occupied by Toy Bonnie. Not wanting to hear him play Wonderwall for the umpteenth time, they head to the bathroom wing of the pizzeria, the music cutting briefly before the Toreador March kicks in. Shortly after, we... This one, I believe, is the most impressive shot in this entire project so far. Once again, Freddy is our main point of interest, the bathroom he is occupying being absolutely massacred, with what looks like to be the remains of something peeking out in the corner. But the part that really gets me about this scene, Freddy moves. Not just his eyes, his entire body. His breathing is slow and bated as he stares out of the space he is inhabiting, his head bobbing up and down in tandem with his breath, proving that, at least in this instance, we are viewing an actual 3D model, not just a fancy edit or post-corruption. Also, not to mention this flashes for exactly 1 frame before Freddy shows up in the bathroom. Whatever it is, it's barely even comprehensible, looking like some bastard fusion of Smile Dog and Freddy Fazbear. Regardless, like always, this is the only anomaly for this video, though the ending is also fairly strange. In the original video this is based on, the animation fully ends with Toy Chica and Bonnie finding their alone space, being given the the plush and them hugging and kissing. But in this version, the video just abruptly cuts out to the outro. At first, I thought this was meant to be because they wanted the video to be kept at the same time code, but this one just ends with 30 seconds of black screen. I guess that description had a lot more merit to it than I thought at first glance. Next on the docket is the video SFM FNAF Assistant Zajcu37 Season 1 Re-Upload. The scene starts with Chica getting Freddy's attention on a pressing matter. Heading to the bathroom, Chica points out the mess in the stalls as she accidentally slips on a slice of pizza. Panning back to Freddy, the scene pauses briefly, which typically only means one thing. Well, hello there once again, friend. We're greeted by what I've heard others dub as Bloodbear, the audio being overwhelmed with the screams of the damned once more as we watch his agonizing face twitch. We eventually pan back over to Chica, who also isn't looking much better. This scene lasts for a grueling 36 seconds, panning back to Freddy, then panning back to Chica again, whose head seems to have turned into a baby. After enduring this, the rest of the upload plays out as normal, so there's really no need in discussing it further. I don't know if it means anything just yet, but the corruptions exclusively being between Freddy and Chica so far is a very interesting note to put in. This could potentially help give us a clue to what future installments could hold for us, so I'd recommend at least holding on to it for now. Other than that, there's, again, not really much to discern from this upload, other than it being the most popular at this current moment, likely due to how striking the imagery is this time around. Moving on to our 9th video, titled SFM FNAF The Return Zajcu37 Re-Upload Deleted Video, we get to another long one. This video is also very slow burn, so I'll speed through the uninteresting parts. The video starts with Toy Freddy and Toy Bonnie playing chess. It's not important at all. We then pan to Balloon Boy bothering Toy Chica, again, not really important. Diverting our attention again, we finally get to an important part of this video. Withered Golden Freddy appears behind Puppet. They seem to be having a conversation, and Golden Freddy diverts the attention to the backstage with the withered animatronics. The two seem to get in some sort of disagreement, causing Golden Freddy to retaliate by unleashing the spirits back into the wizards. Once fully reactivated, they huddle up and are supposed to talk to Golden Freddy, but in this version, the camera stops panning right before getting to him. Not the only anomaly present in this video, but it's certainly strange, as this is divergent from the original upload. After this, the gang march to the security office, harass Blue Scout for a bit, as we cut back to Freddy and Bonnie's game of chess. Hearing the commotion from afar, the toys go to investigate, finding Withered Freddy in the hallway, and he is pissed. Soon after, the rest of the Wizards start to square up with the toys, getting ready for an altercation. Puppet, getting ear of this, immediately rushes to the altercation to break it up, shoving both parties to opposite ends of the hallway, and dear god, okay. The Wizards are a complete bloody mess, not too dissimilar to what happened to Freddy in that bomb surprise video. Going to the side of the toys reveals a very similar sight. However, another face is here at the bottom as well, being a weird Spring Bonnie, boasting a golden bow tie and a fedora. I am honestly not sure what this is supposed to mean. If I had to assume, this is like the OC of another legacy SFM animator or something. This is a clue I don't really have much knowledge of, so if anybody could help me out with this one, it would be appreciated. Lingering on these two shots for a little bit longer, the video finally ends. This video is pretty notable to me due to this being our first time seeing more than just Freddy or Chica have a corruption added to them. Not just having more than those characters show some pretty dire signs, but the entire Withered and Toy cast. The animatronics seem to just be very fragile in these videos. Any sort of physical altercation, instead of resulting in slapstick, would rather devolve into insane, gory messes. I'll be keeping an eye out for this Spring Bonnie character, who also showed up here as well. This may be important later on. We're down to our final 4 uploads on the channel, kickstarting with SFM FNAF Foxy Zajcu, and literally right after the intro we're greeted with
Hi.
Okay, what the fuck, man? Meet our anomaly for tonight. His name is Ryan. Excuse me, Ryan the Angel Gamer. All this episode consists of is Ryan commenting over the footage with his own commentary on what's going on. Once again, this is one of the few videos where nothing overtly scary happens. Just around every minute, Ryan will interject with his opinion on what is currently going on.
Looks like they finally caught the night guard. Hello, I am Ryan the Angel Gamer, okay?
Cut him some slack, man. He just wants to be included, you know? Who this character is meant to be is a mystery as of right now, and I doubt I'll ever figure it out. Chances are he's likely not all that important to whatever meta-narrative is being told to us. Not much else to really say about this installment, so we're moving on. Lost Cupcake is the 3rd final video currently on the archive. Toy Chica wakes up realizing she is missing her cupcake. Getting off the stage, she looks in multiple locations for it, but alas, to no luck. She then asks Toy Bonnie for help, but he doesn't know anything. It's then when we hear Freddy walk away, and then...
no!
This is a very subtle edit, but in the original, Scout actually does have an animation here, but in this instance, it's just, well, this. Toy Chica enters into the office, Scout being under the assumption he's about to get attacked, but is surprised to see Toy Chica leave immediately. Bro was weak for being afraid here. You gotta step up your game, Jeremy. Toy Chica continues her search, walking into Bonnie and Foxy playing some Fortnite duos. Gee, I really wonder what happens if they end on a loss. As you expect, Toy Chica doesn't find anything in here either. She goes to the show stage, the camera panning on all the animatronics present, but once we get to Chica... Chica, once again, the center of this corruption, appearing in a similar state we saw previously. Her eyes twitching in this distorted and unnatural way as her entire body is mangled beyond comprehension. And as you'll see, Toy Chica isn't looking any better for wear either. This is the most disturbing edit in the series, in my opinion. Something about the upside down face really gets me, and it doesn't help that for the final 4 frames it starts opening. As always, this is the only other anomaly present in this video. The rest goes on as normal. Chica waits for Night 2 to keep looking for her cupcake. Foxy goes to her to sing to hopefully cheer her up, but it doesn't work. Bonnie then tries getting her a new cake, but she rejects it. He then goes to Puppet to hatch a plan, and eventually finds the cupcake in the basement. Giving it back to Toy Chica, she leans in for a kiss, but the video again gets abruptly cut off, since, as you can remember, the archiver doesn't like this ship. The second to final video is Zajcu37 FNAF 4 Song Collab Part 2 actually doesn't really have any discernible altercations. It's just a 21-second low-quality rip. I guess at one point the screen flashes upside down for a frame, but it doesn't really seem to actually mean anything, so we'll just move on. Finally, we are at the latest video in the archive, only being uploaded 3 days ago by the time of writing this. SFM FNAF 3000 sub special Zajcu37 re-upload. As the title would suggest, the plot of this episode is the gang celebrating the milestone of 3,000 subscribers. There's some weird artifacting that happens where the screen flickers occasionally before we get into the big musical number. Dear God, don't take me back. The gang plays all their iconic instruments. Bonnie on the guitar, Foxy on the drums, Freddy on the brazen bull. This one is so weird, dude. The entrails of Bloodbear are just spilling out onto the keyboard as they wiggle around like maggots are crawling inside them. It's such a disgusting visual. After this, it cuts to more of the gang celebrating before cutting the scout with a wall of completely non-discernible text. I literally can't make out any of this, so I'm not even going to try. So, that was Zajcu37 Archive up to making this video. Now, after everything we just watched, you're probably expecting another piece of information for me to give you. Something that I've been holding on to that will finally give us any semblance of a chance at piecing what on earth we have just watched together to make a cohesive narrative out of all of this. And, well, I got nothing. This channel is complete nonsense. There isn't a single discernible thing in these anomalies that can make you even remotely start to piece together a story. There's recurring patterns that may hint at there being something more, but all of it just seems to give more questions than answers. We know that these anomalies primarily focus on Freddy and Chica, but we don't know why. We don't have an answer as to why some videos have literally no scares, and then we still don't know who the fuck Ryan is. There's nothing to go off here. But I think that's the point. Zajcu37 isn't an ARG. Hell, it's not even a story. All of this just reads as an elaborate shitpost made by people who either watched Zajcu as a kid or people who brazenly hate his content so much they felt inclined to make these videos where they added disturbing imagery for no reason other than to fulfill their own enjoyment. So, if there's no discernible story here, no conclusion to come to, if the entire thing is meant to be just one massive shitpost, why talk about it at all? Well, just because there's no underlying narrative or ARG you could piece together from these videos doesn't necessarily mean there's no message you can discern from all of this. In reality, Zajcu37 Archive likely doesn't have a meaning, but that doesn't make me think there isn't anything at all. I do believe there is a message that you can apply to this channel, but it's something that we're going to have to come back to. Anyways, you guys like Bendy? Hey, you enjoying the video so far? The funding of DAG's projects can be supported by you lovely viewers over on Patreon. Get exclusive previews, sneak peeks at upcoming video projects, your name read at the end of the video, and more. And hopefully all that will help you from ending up like this guy. Go to the link in the description or patreon.com/dags117 if you're interested. Anyways... Despite mascot horror topics being my bread and butter for a good 2 years now, Bendy has always been something I kinda neglected talking about in any meaningful way. Sure, I'd mention it here and there when it came to the context of other games, but I never really have gone in depth with my thoughts or experiences with the IP like I have many other popular mascot horror trends of the late 2010s. Obviously, like anyone else who was like 12 when Bendy first came out, I was absolutely obsessed with it, more so than FNAF for a time. I'd keep up with all the chapters releasing, watching like Dawko or Bijou Mike play through each new chapter as they released. I listened to the damn D8 games and CG5 songs. It was a time to be alive, okay? Being around to see Bendy slowly develop was such a time, man. Seeing the improvements between each chapter's designs and aesthetics was something that was so fun to bear witness to. The Meatly and Mike mood even taking the time to go back to old chapters chapters and completely renovate certain aspects of them to meet their ever-rising standard, a practice I wish many other games in this field would also take up. I think the best era of this game was absolutely the time between Chapter 1 and 2. 3 to 4 was still a fun time, but I felt the hype starting to die down by then. And by Chapter 5, honestly, I just kind of started to fall out of interest. Don't get me wrong, I was still excited to see the release of Chapter 5, but my interest was certainly waning by that time. I remember watching all the way to the ending and just feeling underwhelmed. I don't know if it was a mix of me moving on to other things at the time, feeling like the wait between chapters was getting too long, simply just getting older. In hindsight, it was likely all of these things. And by Chapter 5, by the time we saw Joey Drew, the man himself, revealed to us, I just kind of fell out of interest. I barely thought about Bendy after that, and in the meantime, there was an insane lawsuit, the cancellation of a new IP that crashed and burned upon arrival, causing several layoffs at Kindly Beast, and the remaining Bendy fans having left starved of info about the release of the fabled Dark Revival. A game that, despite being out for almost 3 years now, I didn't even get around to playing until last year. Despite all the changes Bendy had gone throughout the years, the controversies, the failed games, lawsuits, Mike Mood Ink Demon cars, all of it. It still didn't take away from that absolutely special time I felt between Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. So, when I heard that there was a mod to come out recently that reimagines the atmosphere from Chapter 1, you could color me surprised and intrigued. Out of the Ink Machine is a mod for the first chapter and first build of Bendy, released back at the end of October last year. The mod focuses on adding new content to the original chapter that alters the playing experience in some way, the trailer itself showing many interesting changes already, but there are mainly things that I believe we should save for later. The first thing I want to focus on, however, is this. Meet our new Bendy. Ugh. I both love and hate this design. Everything about it feels so uncomfortable. The sharper edges and more plump shaping of the torso, the weird misshapen and open palms on both of his sides, and, of course, his face. Exchanging the minimalist details of Bendy's original face for over-detailing that just makes the design look so uncanny in comparison. Having detailed mouth, chin, and eye definitions, along with horns that protrude outward as opposed to inward. It's like if you took every conventional and appealing part of Bendy's core design and intentionally erased all of those features. It's a very striking visual, and already makes me anticipate what else could have potentially been altered in this mod. So, let's find out. Out of the Ink Machine opens with a logo not for Kindly Beast or even Joey Drew Studios, but instead for the drawing board. Fading out, we're given a very simple warning. This game contains flashing lights and fast images. It may cause discomforts and trigger seizures for people with photosensitive epilepsy. But you'll play it anyway. Follow the path. Get used to this follow the path motif, it'll be showing up a lot. We're taken to the page with the note given to us by Joey. It reads as follows. Dear Henry, it seems like a decade since our last meeting. I believe I've made something special. I'd like you to see it. Remember the old workshop? If you're back in town, come pay a visit. I promise it'll be worth the trip. Yours, JD. This note is completely different from the original game. Literally everything is different. Not just the contents of the letter, but the font, signature, menu music, everything. It's all wrong. We haven't even gotten to the game itself, and we have already run into 3 things that are abnormal. Starting the game, we enter a familiar place, observing our immediate surroundings, we can already make out immediate changes. All of the posters surrounding us are completely different, sporting the Bendy design present in the promotional material, as well as the redesigns for Boris the Wolf, who is now known as Boris the Hound. Making our way into the main room, the layout of our current surroundings doesn't feel all that different from the source, but looking around, you can start to tell that something is certainly off. The gears that were on this wall now being repurposed into a logo, sporting the text Brighter Side Films. Mirroring it, a cutout for our good friend Bendy. Aside from him, lies a note. I should be content with my creations, but this place no longer feels like a home without my team. We visit iconic landmarks of the studio, such as Henry's desk, before turning back to hear that the radio has been switched on. I continue down the path, taking in the sights, as I spot it in the distance. Turning on the ink machine goes just about how you'd expect. We make our way into the room with the pillars, needing to find all the same items from the base game. Except, the silhouettes this time around are a bit more vague. Heading out to my current objective, we're met with an iconic sting. I then move forward into Boris's room, and oh dear. Boris, instead of being strapped to a table like in the original, is now being hung up by chains, suspended in the air. To his right, an updated cutout of his new design, which now sports a tie. The wound in his chest is absolutely disgusting, having far more flesh detail than in the base game, or even the alpha. This room also takes you for much more of a surprise, needing to physically enter it through the door rather than just simply stumbling upon it. To the right of them also sports a wall decal with new text, simply stating, "Art is dead." This room has far more anomalies in it, and I won't get into listing all of them right now, but there is one more thing I wanted to mention that took me a while to put together. In this room, there's this weird rattling that you can hear from time to time. I barely even recognized it at first, but it got much more noticeable when needing to come back here for the ink blot earlier. That's when it hit me. Boris moves when you don't look at him. The shackling of the chains happening only when you look away isn't just a coincidence. It can't just be a coincidence. Boris is alive. But why is he hiding that fact? Continuing to meander around the studio, we slowly find the relics needed to power on the ink machine. An ink blot instead of an ink container, a vinyl made by Inferno Records, a Bendy plushie with strange eyes, a wrench, a cog, and a book. The book was always the most intriguing one in the original game, being Joey Drew's Illusion of Living autobiography. But, like most things in this reimagining, this also had been changed too, now sporting the name House of Dreams. This redesign has a lot more intention than what you can see at first glance. Going off the name and how this book itself is formatted, this is meant to be a clear homage to House of Leaves, a surreal horror story that has been referenced in many different fictional works in the past few years. It's also a book I actually own physically myself. Have I read it yet? Well, no. Do you think I have time to read books? But it is a really nice keepsake. Who knows? Maybe I'll finally take a crack at a few pages after this video is finished. After collecting each item, we do as we're expected and go to turn on the ink machine's flow. But as we enter the room, though being a scare that is also featured in the original, the presentation here is once again completely changed. Bendy, obviously sporting his new design once more, with new audio to back, this same "come sing with me" message being shared on the walls as well. Walking out, we make our way back to the ink machine room, and do what we have to do. the atmosphere of the studio immediately becomes much bleaker than the original, pulling out the flashlight we would use in Chapter 3. The entire studio has become a lot more ominous, with pairs of eyes watching you from between the cracks of the walls. And Boris... spouting out squirts of ink from his exposed chest and groaning in agonizing pain, Boris is 100% confirmed to still be alive. Though we now have this information, there's nothing in the game that will allow us to do anything regarding this, and the only thing we can do is just leave and continue to follow the path. We pass all the sites we have made ourselves so familiar with by now, finally making our way to the boarded-up ink machine room. As we continue to approach these boards, we know what's going to happen, but we also don't at the same time. Sitting here isn't going to do us any favors, however, so we press on forward and... Hey, look, it's Bendy's new design. He's finally showing us it in the corporeal realm for the first time. And... wait, what is he doing? What the fuck is he doing? In an unexpected turn of events, Bendy starts to make chase, the studio overflowing with ink just as we remember. Trying our hardest to make our way to the exit, Bendy tailing us just a mere feet behind us. Inching ever closer back to the exit, we fall through the floorboards, pummeling down below, immediately met with a fairly grisly sight. A skeleton in a wheelchair, with the tape recorder by his side. Text on the wall stating, "He died here." The audio from the recorder plays as follows.
I do love these new cutouts. You can put them anywhere. You can put them right next to your desk and have Bendy watch what you're drawing. I have a great feeling that my hard-working team is also going to love them.
With all the context clues that were given to us at this scene, I think we can safely say this is Joey himself. Picking up our axe, we actually have the ability to chop Joey's head off if we want, serves the bastard right. Clearing our path, we inch closer to our end, the room shaking as we approach further. Before entering, we notice some very interesting changes. First off, another skeleton on the side of the room, looking very surprised at his current circumstances. Writing on the wall stating, "In this house, I am king," and a real pentagram in the middle of the room. Hesitantly, I inch closer into the space. This action ultimately ending the game. So, lots to unpack here, huh? Out of the ink machine is a really strange experience. Every change made to the layout, scenery, or how things just generally play out seem to be very insignificant in the grand scheme of things, up until the very end. I did this intentionally, but I barely even grazed the surface of this iceberg when it comes to the amount of changes made from the original. Though, I believe there are many you could have caught just by observing as well. But before talking about all the changes and additions made to this mod, I want to talk about something that made it feel incomplete. Something taken away from the original that added such a veil of comfort from the sights you were bearing witness to. If you're observant, you may have already noticed. Henry doesn't talk. Throughout our entire expedition through the old studio, Henry stays silent throughout. All his witty dialogue, the "alright Joey, I'm here," the "Joey, what were you doing?" the "punching in, always on time, back to the old grind," all gone. And it makes for a much more tense experience. Some more extremely subtle changes also include the wallpaper of the studio being entirely different, the design reveal for Alice Angel being found at Henry's desk, a window being present at Henry's desk, several new wall decals such as these guide signs, actual studio bathrooms, along with a message played on the tape recorder, which goes as follows.
Joey's a madman. He's had me install these little pedestals in the break room, and he keeps talking about that machine.
Although, Wally doesn't say his iconic catchphrase until after you turn on the ink machine. Speaking of which, a blueprint found in its room refers to it as the Lazarus Machine. And you want to know the crazy part? These are just the few anomalies that are guaranteed to spawn. Out of the ink machine is different every playthrough. When I say there is a new discovery to be found throughout every playthrough you do of this game, I mean it. From the most subtle changes in audio or the placement of decals, to the set pieces being completely altered depending on the playthrough. I've played through this game about 7 to 8 times now, and I feel like I haven't even scratched the surface. So, why don't we talk about some of my personal favorite encounters? The first one that caught my eye actually happens right when you spawn. If you have OBS open, this message will appear on the ceiling of the studio, as an immediate giveaway that something is certainly off. Bendy has the chance to have his cutouts change into several different variants. Some may not have a face, some may be tweaking on Fent, sometimes regular-ass Bendy will show up. There's a lot of secrets with just these cutouts alone. After turning on the ink machine, Boris has the chance to just completely disappear from his room, a trail of ink following into the room next to his shackles. You can't enter this room, but obviously this gives us much more confirmation that Boris is alive. In random locations throughout the studio, a missing poster for Joseph Drew can be spotted, having him in the same outfit we find his corpse spotting. Bendy's chase at the end of the game has the chance to also be slightly different, reminiscing the game's original ending where he simply just goes beneath the floor instead of breaking the boards, though he will emerge from the floor if you stay put for too long, so don't do that. Posters around the studio have the chance to change all the time, my favorite detail being all the posters to Bendy having him disappear once you turn on the ink machine, as if he literally jumped out of the page to come hunt you down. Do you remember the secret Boris room you can go into when you turn on the ink machine in the original game? Well, we have something like that here too. If you go behind the wall, we see, anyways, we can actually walk further into the room to get another secret room where we find this Bendy cutout that has, like, the same collision as a Gmod Nextbot. After triggering this, we can actually go back to the original area where the speaker is going once again, and... What? Wait. No. No.
Well, it's simple. It's EFOC. Because it's funny.
I continued looking for these niche Easter eggs that don't really contribute anything to the overall experience for 2 days. I started obsessing over trying to get every small thing to happen to me, experimenting with different things to do or what order I do certain things. I'd get new stuff sometimes, but I was starting to go entire playthroughs without nothing new. But the prospect of maybe finding something, just anything I hadn't seen before yet, kept me going. I haven't even told you about how this Bendy design is actually named Ollie for no apparent reason. I haven't talked about the goddamn green filter yet. Don't even get me started on the green filter. I kept at this cycle for hours and hours until it finally snapped in me. This is pointless. I started coming back to this game, this glorified tech demo that takes a total of 5 minutes of playtime if you know what you're doing, barely even because of the secrets anymore. I started to come back to it simply because there was just a comfort of replaying this game I had grown up with in the state of it that I have the most fond memories of, over and over again, looking for anything that could be different, following the path, over and over again. The game always ends when you go into that final room. Ollie stares at you, you're given a little teaser at the end, and that's it. Back to the title screen. It's kind of genius in a way, gripping that emotional attachment people my age have with this game, the let's plays, the animation, that mystery that would continue to build between each chapter's release. Playing on that comfort you once had to deliver you an experience that would be different each time, but ultimately not amount to anything meaningful, is genius. I was originally going to title this video Weaponized Nostalgia, as I feel that's what these two projects represent. Zajcu Archive is a collection of corrupted videos that want to make you believe there's a narrative being built here, playing on memories you may have had watching these old videos as a child, and Out of the Ink Machine does the exact same thing. It's as if these two art pieces are deliberately mocking you for trying to find any meaning in them. It makes me believe that Bloodbear and Ollie are meant to represent the same message. One is a character that, just like his color, is meant to represent a red herring. His inclusion to these videos makes you believe that there is something to analyze, but just like Ryan the Angel Gamer or Gay Foxy and Bonnie, it's just nonsense. Although I do believe Ollie to be a bit more nuanced, I do think that he is still meant to represent this general point. Ollie feels like more than just a Bendy redesign, he feels like his own being entirely, leaving you notes that break the fourth wall, slightly changing and rearranging things every playthrough, literally jumping out of the page to come hunt you down. Everything about his character just feels so deliberate, like he is pulling out everything he can to not let us leave, to have us follow the path just one more time. We live in a world where nostalgia sells better than anything else, the memory of where you were in life completely trumping the overall quality of the product you are engaging with. This has been true for many previous generations for years now, but now I'm starting to see it pushed heavily with mine. Fortnite OG has come back a total of twice now, same with Overwatch, and likely with dozens of other live service games to come. Beta Minecraft has been rising in popularity for years now, mods and other creations being tailor-made for those over decade-long editions. The rise of liminal space photography a few years ago, primarily replicating the feeling of being a child in the early to mid-2000s. It all accumulates to this feeling of just wanting to go back, wanting to experience life the same way you did as a child. Just one more time. It's a feeling I've fallen victim to myself, but it's simply just not a good way to live. Life may have felt better back then, it may have been better back then for some of you, but it's unfortunately just something you can't get back in a feasible fashion. Visiting things from your past that have brought you joy or comfort can be a good thing every now and again, but I feel like this overindulgence that every generation seems to get trapped into just starts to get to your head after a while. The past is comforting, and the future is always uncertain. And that's scary. We're all getting older, speaking of which I just turned 19 myself a few days ago. I would love to just be able to go back to a day in 2017, which was almost a whole decade ago, and just enjoy the simplicity of it all. But alas, time only marches forward. So, I can only leave you with one question. If you changed the past, would you even be able to tell? Maybe I'm looking into it too deeply, or maybe this is just my own personal meaning I prescribed myself for myself. Regardless of what you think of all this, I hope the message was still able to get across to some of you. I sure know I needed it myself. Be less scared of the future. Don't hold the past in a stranglehold. I believe it'll all work out in the end. Thank you to all of my patrons, especially Ace Rubo, Funky Izzy, Davian McKean, Aaron Parsons, Lotus Flower, James Bondfan, Rickhort12, Reverted Lotus, Pigpen, D for DJ, It's Juicy, Just Sam, Dusky, and Squeaks the Corgay. I've been Dags, and until next time, see ya. Hey, so it's like the 30th, and I'm crunching my editing last minute at like 5 a.m. before I have to publish this the next day for the YouTube's ad. But I know people are gonna comment about this, so I just want to go over it quickly. Zajcu Archive released like 3 new videos in the time of me making this one. It's about what you'd expect. The first one is just more gay Foxy and Bonnie and no scare again. The second one is this frame of Toy Bonnie hanging himself, and I can't lie, this one's pretty funny. And the last one, Freddy just kind of falls over and turns into this absurdly bloody mess. It's also pretty funny. So, I know I'm going to get comments about this, so to the real ones out there, if you see a comment like this, just link them to this timestamp and tell them to buy the YouTube's plush while you're at it too. You got like 2 weeks to pick one up. Look in the pinned comment and description. The plush is really awesome. Other than that, I do want to give thanks to the entire Out of the Ink Machine crew, especially Zephyr for being such a big help and so kind to me throughout this entire process. Her socials will be linked in the description if you want to check her out. They also gave me HD assets from the game to use in the video and stuff. Just an overall great help. Thank you, friend. I'd also credit the Zajcu guys, but they're like completely anonymous, and frankly, I also am kind of scared of them. I feel like they'd be the type to not really like a video like this made on their project, so if I overanalyze the series or contributed to getting really annoying or something, I apologize, but if we're cool too, that'd be great. I just hope everything here was alright. Okay, that's all I wanted to say at the end here, and buy the U2s. You got 2 weeks to buy one now. Do it now. Go buy it. Go do it. Go buy the U2s. Do it. Go buy it.